Hi everyone, let's talk about Shipyard. If you're wondering where all the rest of the game and stuff is, I did a full playthrough for it and it's linked in the description. You can see more about it there. So I feel like I've been going on about Shipyard in pretty much every chance that I get. In loads of videos, pretty much every other Vladimir Suchy game that I have covered on this channel. Because, yeah, I don't really see very much about it. And it was one that I got quite early on. It was, it's most likely a Rado playthrough that I saw early on about it. And yeah, it doesn't, it's another game where it doesn't really look that exciting to begin with. And, you know, it's not like I'd criticize the art. It's perfectly in keeping with, you know, the setting and the theme of it. But yeah, it's another one where it might be harder to convince people that, yeah, we own these shipyards and we're going to be getting these businessmen and we're going to be getting sales and things. Might be a little bit of a hard sell, but it is so much more than that. And I feel like the pressure's on after all of this building up in other videos to convince you that it's such a good game. But hey, the playthrough is there to convince you. This is just extra, isn't it? So I feel like it works on all cylinders, really. It fires on all cylinders. There's nothing that I would really criticize about the game at all. I love the, you know, if you like rondels, then you pretty much can't cram any more into a single game, probably. I love the action selection is so interesting that you are, and the two-player implementation of it is done in such a good way as well, that you're on an action after the first couple of turns anyway. You take your marker off that action, slide it to the front of this little track, and then you get to pick any action that is available and not the one that you just came off. So you can't just keep spamming one thing over and over again. So that's interesting in itself. But then you have the extra things to think about of, I want to be behind other people so I can earn extra money, because extra money is extra options. It's being able to manipulate the other rondels for the particular actions, for getting crew, for getting equipment, for getting employees. And if you can build up enough money, it's extra actions, it's whole extra turns that you can take. So that's always a big thing. And if you end up in a game that isn't particularly, you know, neither of us particularly care about wagons this game. We don't really get into commodities after we've sold our first wagons that we started the game with. And so it's left way, way behind on the track. Well, it's even got a little bit of, you know, enticement built into that as well, because if it gets left behind too much, it's worth more and more and more money until suddenly, you know, that action that I don't care about, well, I could go there and get an extra action's worth of money for taking it. So I might as well do that and get my bonus thing as well. The core part, I think the best thing for me is that not only is it a game that's, you know, it's full of these tiles, you know, whether they are for the employees you're getting, for the canals, for the ships themselves, and then tons and tons of little chits for the propellers and sails and all of that stuff. All of that is beautiful and tactile and fits into that beautiful thing that board games have, that you are actually manipulating all this stuff yourself. You're gathering together all of this stuff. You are then arranging it in particular ways to, you know, you're making this beautiful little tableau of ships for yourself, not only in your harbour as you are trying to configure it all to get it ready, but also you end up with this beautiful thing. It's the way, it's what's so beautiful about tile laying games usually, that you can look at the end of the game at this stuff that you have built, and here too you can lay out all of your ships at the very end. You can watch all the way to the playthrough, you can skip to the end and see what we ended up with. But yeah, you end up with this beautiful fleet, whether it's that you were just racing for just as many ships as humanly possible, or you were going ridiculously slowly, but you have made ridiculous juggernaut ships that are just full of smokestacks and cannons and businessmen and things. Yeah, it's just, you can go so many different ways in it, and it's manipulated a little bit by your government contracts as well. You know, you've got 3 of each colour to choose from, and that's another beautiful thing, that you've got quite an array of options in there. You've got 6 different endgame scoring opportunities that you can be going for, that you can be thinking about, hedging your bets a bit, that, okay, well, I'll take something that can have a cannon on it, but it's also got lifeboats on it, because I'll get points for that as well. You can hedge your bets earlier on, but then depending on the way things have come out, depending on the actions you've been able to take, the ship pieces you've been able to take, all of these things, you can start to narrow in, and the game forces you to. Once you've gone around the action stack once, you move the marker down, and now, in a 2-player game anyway, you have to discard all but one of each colour, and you have to make that commitment. Now, the rest of the game, rather than feeling out the way the game's going, now you have committed to one thing and you had better make that thing work really well. I love that element to it as well. There are so many different bonuses. You can end up really stacking things. If you go into employees a lot, you can end up with loads of extra things to the point where whenever I go to the crew action, I could get a load of bonus stuff and not have to worry about it for ages and ages in the future. Or you can really go for, and I never really do this when we've played for real, I don't think we've ever gone into the trader tiles where you can get bonus money for selling certain commodities and really manipulated the wagons to their full potential. We've done it a couple of times maybe, surely with your starting wagons, because you can not just exchange them for money, you can exchange them for the commodities that are out there. You can exchange them for, smokestacks and propellers and captains that you desperately need. But I think that would be a really interesting way of playing it if you can stack those up and really make a ton of money and keep getting loads of extra bonus actions that kind of not just make up for the actions you've spent to get wagons and go to the commodities, but can get you extra stuff as well, because those bonus actions don't care where other people are. You can go to anywhere you want as long as it's not the action that you've just taken there. Yeah, it's just beautiful. It's definitely on the heavier side. It requires a lot of thought to do well in it. And because you've got so many variables up in the air. You've got your government contracts that, at the start of the game, you've got your government contracts that you've got 6 of to be thinking about, although you are only going to be able to commit to 2 of them. You've got the canals that you take that will influence it. Hopefully you can get complementary things, but I get bonuses for businessmen, so I want canals that have got the crane space that gives bonus points to businessmen. And okay, the canals I've ended up with, there's that blue ribbon there that gives me points based on how far I've travelled up to it. So okay, then I want to make a fast ship. And all of these things build up quickly to the point where you realise, okay, I haven't got anything built yet. I just need to go with what I've got. It's all about that timing. Do I just get boats out to satisfy a few of these things just so I've got stuff moving, or can I afford to spend a few more turns? It's always that. You always want to spend a couple more turns on your ship. You could always make it a little bit better if you had a bit more time, but you've only got so much time before the game runs out, and you need to get something done. It's a beautiful thing, and you need to be thinking about, do you go for the rondelles for your equipment for your crew, or do you go about it a completely different way by going for wagons and exchanging them for particular types of it as well? It all depends on the way other people are going, which actions are available, which benefits you've got from contracts and the canals and things. It's just so much to like about this game. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience. It's definitely a brain-burning one at times, because it's one of those where you know that you need to get all of these things done. You've got this much time. Okay, especially towards the end when you know that not only have you got, we've got so many turns before the game is going to be over, but you also know that, okay, then we get one more bonus action and I can go anywhere, and we get the chance to get one more piece of a ship. So if you can plan it perfectly, and it's harder to do, of course, if you can plan it perfectly, you can end up just timing everything right so that one piece just slots into place and finishes a perfect ship because you have been able to plan it all out. Yeah, it depends on how well you've managed to do that, though, won't you? It depends on what you like, really, doesn't it? If you're me, you'll really, really love this game. And it's one of my favourites of all time. I really, really love it. It's one that Rach, who I play pretty much most of my games with, she doesn't see the magic in this. She doesn't actively dislike it, but for her, I think it's a longer, heavier game that hasn't really got a spark for her. Again, she doesn't really give specific reasons why she doesn't like things, but it's one that I would like to get played more. And although I am generally filming stuff or playing stuff to film, I did notice when I was looking around the files section that someone has come up with an Automa to be able to play it solo. So that could be a nice little extra for it as well. But hey, watch the playthrough, decide for yourself. I really love it. Your mileage may vary. I'm going to go now and talk about another game. Bye.